Hello, everyone, and welcome to Overth News and Media platform. I'm so glad to have Dr. Maryanne Lobo join us from Goa today. Hi, Maryanne. How are you doing?
Good evening, Kapitra. I'm good. How about you?
Absolutely delighted to have you here today. A bit about Dr. Maryanne Lobo. She goes with a lot of experience in holistic healthcare, and she's an expert with 18 years of experience in Panchakarma, in PCOS, and diabetes reversal, and weight management, and something called forensic pulse diagnosis, which is her forte. And just a bit about what that is, Maryanne, if you can just put a little light on that.
Okay, so forensic diagnosis, pulse diagnosis, is basically everyone knows that the doctor checks patient's pulse. And it is of great importance in Ayurveda, the pulse diagnosis, which goes without, every Vaidya always checks patient for the pulse. So the forensic pulse diagnosis is basically like an X-ray scan with which you can see the organs like the heart, the lungs. We can know about the digestion. Then if someone is going to suffer a stroke, or there are any blockages anywhere in the circulation, if they're going to get cancer, or if they are having diabetes and they have not yet got themselves tested. So a forensic pulse diagnosis works in this kind of a way. It kind of alerts a person on maybe something underlying that is already there and they are unaware of.
Wow, that's like, this is just an introduction to Maryanne. And let me tell you, when we did a dry run last week, I think my questions were never ending. Like with every answer she gave me for my questions, there were more questions turning up. So it's going to be a very interesting flow today. And as you all know, Over News and Media platform looks at any topic through the prism of 4 simple steps, and that is a collective anxiety we feel towards a topic concerning environment, nature, conservation, minimalism, climate change, anything. And when we look at this collective anxiety we feel towards this topic, we then look at the individual action, and that's how we invite people into this platform to understand how they're working in that particular area, and what can we do by imbibing certain things from them and applying that to our life. And the third step is the community transition that can take place. How can we try to implement this into our local communities and see how as a community can be transformed. And then the fourth is a wider ecosystem impact, because we look at several pilot projects, we look at individuals working such passionately, such deeply in their areas, that then we want to see how an entire ecosystem gets, makes a difference. So moving on from here, let me first announce the topic for today. It's Eat Local, Wild Edibles, and Native Life. And taking on from there comes my first question to you, Maryanne, is when you say eat local, what do you mean by that? People have to know what it means. I need to know it better, because for me, eat local is just, something which you go to the mandi, you buy something and you come. But what exactly does eat local mean?
Okay. Very nice question, and it is a question that has is on everyone's mind actually. And eat local become a trendy catchword, as I can say nowadays. I mean, everybody is talking about eating local. There are platforms saying eating local. So eating local, the way I see it through the prism as a doctor and as a forager, it is about eating in the region that you are in. So in that particular area that you belong to, or in about a radius of about 160 kilometers, or roughly as Google translates it into 100 miles about, into that area of prism is what would be local, eating the food that grows in that areas. Now, many times we say, okay, what we get in the sabji mandi is eat local. Not necessarily. Yeah. Carrots, not from here. They are imports into our country, as also tomatoes, and again potatoes, they are not from here. So though they have become now part of our sabji mandis, they are not eat local. So eat local, again, we go back to our yams, arbi, things like suran, elephant's foot. These are very much a part of our local diets, air potatoes. And then you have the seasonal leafy vegetables. Like currently in Eat Local, in each region, like in the north of India, sarso ka saag or the mustard greens are widely available. Here in Western India, and in Goa, what we are currently having is the kol rabi or the nol kol as we call it, or turnips.
Yeah.
We have yams going on currently over here, a lot of yams. And also
Wow.
we have the red and the red, which is very much again grown by farmers here. And again, a very local variety of radish, which is a little bittersweet in nature, which is very much a part of the local diet here. So that which we can see a farmer growing, where we reside or in a little further area, where we can get these produce, and from local farmers markets. Now farmers markets have taken a big turn for, and good upturn, I should say. So what we can pick up from a farmers market or from a community farmers market, these are the foods that we will get, and what we can call as eat local. Again, like bajra and jawar do not grow here in Goa, but it is during at the borders of Goa we get ragi. Ragi also was grown in Goa during this season. So we would get ragi somewhere in March to get harvested, and we would be able to use it. So ragi also is part of the local here food and a staple diet. And again, what would be beneficial for that person's health? That is how we would define as being eat local. We also have a sweet potato here, which we call as ratai. Now, it's very different from the sweet potato that you get all over India, which is red in color. The one that we get here is whitish.
Wow.
Okay, it has this creamish whitish texture, and it is quite sweet, and no religious function. Like, you have the Ekadashi, or the end of the Ekadashi, and then you have the Deepotsav or the end of the Tulsi Lagna. These festivals, at the sweet dish that is given is made from a little bit of coconut milk,
Yeah.
and this white sweet potato and jaggery. So
Wow.
they see that it's yeah. So the religious festivals would encompass this eat local concept very well, and we need to
Yeah.
go back to seeing how these festivals are there during that particular season, and we know what is that food to be consumed during that time, and that is how I would define eat local being based on.
Wow. So I think my next question to you has already been answered partly, because my next question for you was, how does eat local mean, good for health? And since you've already answered that, any extension to it would be welcome.
Yes. So how I see it as that, India is divided into two parts as we study in Ayurveda: the Anupadesh or the jungle desh. That is a dry region or a region that is wet. Now, the region where we reside in, or the Western Indian region, by nature is more of what we say, tropical. It has moisture, it has wetness. As we go closer towards the Deccan is where we will have a drier area.
Yeah.
So when we say again eat local, the foods that we have here, even the coconut, is so much a part of our diet. And actually, what if we eat the local food, we would see a mass, a marked reduction in lifestyle disorders. And the reason I say why there is an increase in lifestyle disorders, why there is an increase in diabetes, is because we have gone away from the local, eating local, and gone
Yeah.
to eating more cosmopolitan, more Mediterranean, more
Yeah.
eating food that is not very much of our region.
Yes. Yes, very true. And in fact, when you were talking about, even potato, not belonging to our region.
Yes.
I remember watching this documentary in which they were showcasing the food available in Delhi, the street food of Delhi, and how samosa itself, which is a typical street food, never had potato before we had the invaders from the Arabian countries come here. The potato itself is supposed to have been
Exactly.
brought through traders from the trade route over there, and potato was never part of samosa.
Correct.
Samosa was more filled with keema, because we mostly had the Mughal
Yes.
Empire over there. So I think very interesting things, right, related to culture, trade, and eat local. So
Very true.
yeah. So okay,
Correct.
moving on. My third question is, the moment we talk about food and healthy food, good food, people usually point at organic food, and organic seems to be an expensive affair, because when we go to pick up something from the shelves in the supermarket, there's an entire different shelf for organic food, right? And it always seems to be on the higher end of things when it comes to the price. But what do you have to say about it? Can you please throw some light that how do we eat local, and what is the difference it has from organic food? Yeah.
Okay, so again, a very, very good question, because this is a saying that everybody says, and even I thought that organic food is expensive. But when we look at certain parameters, okay, we look at certain things, and here I would like to include, area, then things available as what the farmer has available, the area that he uses to produce his crops, and things like that. So coming back to organic need not necessarily be expensive if you are consuming it local.
Yeah.
It is when you go to the supermarket and it is labeled, it is put in a particular container, it is put, let's see, even though they say organic, sometimes some companies are still using plastic.
Yes.
Let's be honest, I mean, it's not in a paper bag, or it's not in a
Yes.
single, so everything still comes in single-use plastics.
Yeah.
So again, we have to take into account these things. So why I suggest eat local and organic, these two go hand in hand. If it is eat local and organic, you will notice there's a marked price difference. That's how we notice even in the markets over here, in the farmers markets, because they will be selling their ragi and things like that, and they still use the traditional system of measurement, which are those wooden, they call it pod, paili, and it's very unique to this region over here, that the question of kilos and things are not there.
Yeah.
So when we say organic food, we have to take into aspect that there is again no chemical fertilizers used.
Yes.
To get the chemical fertilizers again, transportation is there, petrol
Yes.
cost and things like that.
Yes.
Here the farmer has to see that his soil is good, see that there's natural producing things. But again, there are so many things that he has to see, because there's no chemical fertilizer. He has to again see that there's no. How does he control the pests in the field? How does he control, the insects that are coming there?
Yeah.
Or like suddenly we had a rain that happened here, so there was the increase of caterpillar, and the caterpillar eating the leaves and consuming leaves, causing hole in the leaf. So aesthetically, again, the leaf, if there are people are eating leafy vegetable, it doesn't look so good when you have a netted leaf, right, in your sabji.
Yeah.
You will say, you will say, oh,
Yeah.
what is this? But if you know it's organic and it's produced locally, you can go ahead and consume it. Calculate it wise. I would say even including your antibiotic bills and including your supplements. If you see into consideration all these things, I will still say eating locally produced organic food is so much better.
Better.
And I have a small take to this.
Yeah.
What if you start growing a little something in your garden, a little something in your balcony? You are already reducing your cost.
Yes.
Think about it that way. So if you can eat some vegetable that you are growing in a small little container in your balcony 3 times a week, already your run to the market or to the community market is already less.
Yes.
So again, you are consuming an organically produced with your hands, and
Yeah.
not to mention the health benefits and the psychological benefits and the emotional
Yes.
benefits that are accompanied.
Yes, and this is so insightful. I mean, looking at these small little things which goes into, even before you kind of put the seed into the soil, looking at how the land is prepared, right, for
Exactly.
kind of putting the seed inside, and kind of going ahead growing it. So I kind of had seen this video somewhere, and it spoke about how we feel that we need to consider all these different costs which come into we kind of kind of having our own carbon footprints through the different food we eat. And when we look at the whole process, we think transportation is the highest kind of contributor to carbon footprints, but actually no. It starts right from the incubation stage. How is the soil prepared, what is the kind of fertilizers being used, is it natural, and what are the kind of heavy machinery which is being used, and the pesticides which are being used. So there's so much of cost going into each of these processes before we have the
Yes.
food on our plate. So very insightful. I think this is a topic I am very interested in, the entire supply chain process, and how we each one of us have to adopt a circular economy too, in our lifestyles. And I think that's the topic I'll take up later, but very insightful till now, Marianne. And let me go on to the.
Can I just add a little more to this?
Yes,
May I
yes,
just add?
yes.
So, you know how I compare this? I use this because I also treat natural fertility and I work with fertility. So, you mentioned about the seed and the soil. When I tell the couple, when they come to me, I tell them the womb and the seed, that is the sperm, is just the same way as we would see to the field. So we would want there to till the soil and get the fields done properly. In the same way, I work with the ovum and sperm. I work with the man and the woman, and we work to see a ground that is created, and then you till it nicely. So then you give them the medication and the dietary lifestyle, and
Yeah.
change their entire approach to being less stress free. In the same way, imagine if we're doing that to the same soil, being stress free, and so many things, including
Yes.
these small little factors. I mean, I cannot take food and health differently. It just happens, so
For
organically
sure.
for me.
For sure, of
So,
course. I mean, we are what we eat, we are what we drink.
yes,
So it comes from there. And yeah, moving on to my next question to you, that, we always talk about a holistic diet, right? We need
correct.
to have our proteins, our carbs, our minerals, our vitamins, everything. So that's a local variety. When we talk about this 100 mile, I think we talk about the 100 miles, right? When it comes to the eat local.
Yes,
So it's called
yes.
also the 100 mile diet. So when we talk about this, does all our holistic requirement get covered in this eat local kind of arrangement, lifestyle?
Okay. Technically, yes. Okay, let's say technically yes. But we also need to see now a lot of things because of modernity, people moving from villages to the city,
Yeah,
less fields being cultivated, or as it happens over here, buildings getting fields getting overrun by building corporations, agricultural land going to build houses for people because people want more a good life for themselves. So many things we need to see. And again, when we talk about a local diet, theoretically wise, yes, it was sufficient in the
yeah,
100-mile radius. When you say yes, it was sufficient for the local nutrient, that of a person, as in we think about proteins, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. So here we would include even milk.
yeah,
So there were cows that were grown before. I mean, they were tended to, and there are cows that were there, goats were there. Every family had hens. I
yeah,
remember, like, if we wanted mangoes from a neighbor, then we would take eggs and go, and that neighbor, we were kids, okay, real kids.
Yeah.
This happened,
Yeah.
like I'm saying, 30, 35 years back. We were kids, so we would go and give eggs, and they would give us mangoes.
Yeah.
So, there was a protein also, there was protein taken care of. Then locally grown mutton or locally grown, protein like chicken or whatever was there for the chicken.
Yes.
And then fish. Goa is abundant in fish. So
Yeah.
the protein requirement was seen for. Coming to the carbohydrate, there was, as I said, ragi and there was rice.
Yeah.
Okay, and also there was the potatoes, the local potatoes that were there. So that also was seen to. There were vegetables grown locally, like even the sponge gourd and all, which is almost kind of disappeared from the market, Goan market, but it's slowly making a comeback.
Yeah.
I remember my grand aunt making this sponge gourd recipe very well, and she would grow sponge gourd. But today, if I want to eat a sponge gourd, I would have to go, to a particular farmer whom I know grows and tell him to keep for me. And for that, again, I have to sit on a bike and I have to go to that place because it's not so close by.
Yeah.
I have to almost traverse a distance of about 25 kilometers to go and get it because
Yeah.
I want it, since I know it would be, good for me. Again, coconut and coconut oil being provided for the oils and the fats that we would be required. So technically speaking, in the past, yes, but now because of our modern day lifestyle,
Yeah.
we do need, from some things coming from beyond the 100-mile radius, like maybe jawar and bajra, ragi, again, not sufficient for all of us in this particular place. So we need now, this is a thing based on our local current needs that we have to take in mind too.
Yeah.
So yes, it is not, currently we have to think that yes, it is not possible that the local diet provides for all the nutrition needs that we require.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, and maybe 30, 45 years back, yes, it was, but it is no more.
Okay, so I mean, this is so futuristic what we're discussing here because of many reasons.
Yes.
And of course, now, climate change being taken more seriously, because India is now reverted to what it needs to do, what targets are there for us over the next 20, 30 years now. And looking at that, I mean, there's so many things as an individual one can do, right? I mean, taking from what answer you've given me, if each one of us can look at, what grows in our native, and try to procure the seeds and try to grow it at your place, in your kitchen garden, in your yard, in your balconies. I think that will be such a beautiful thing to do. And there's so many, seed swap online communities which have come up now over the last, 1.5 years now, 2 years now, because of COVID. I think a lot of all these online communities, in fact, my first interview was with someone who is the admin of such a Facebook community where seed swaps happen. I think it's a beautiful way to, kind of also build that community which, wants to see different kinds of seeds, different kinds of plants, and swap this and try to grow it in their particular areas. I mean, try to see why not, because rather than kind of saying that this may not be growing. I think this is a diminishing line between eat local and also try to say, how can we do this with modernity and development also, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so moving on, I mean, let me come to another question now that, how does shop local help the economy? I mean, when we're saying shop local also, it becomes part of the eat local kind of the entire process, right? You need to shop locally, and where do we go? I'll continue with the question, is that where do we go to look for this local shopping of food, and are these spaces easy to access? How do we do this? So I've combined two questions and I'm kind of giving it to you. Yeah.
Okay. So when we say about shopping locally, what is the most common thing that we think of would be a farmer's market. Or I heard there is a place in Mumbai where you can go and maybe they plant something and you can go directly and buy from them. So here what happens is, I live in a village and I've seen many people also who have settled and made Goa their home now. They have made friends with the farmers who grow vegetables. So this way you can directly get at least some of the vegetables directly from the farmer. Then they grow some bit of pulses. Like I also have a farmer that grows groundnut seed quite nearby, so getting the oils from them. So this way we are preventing against single use plastic, carbon footprint is getting prevented, transportation costs are getting less. We need to encourage these farmers by giving them, I will say, by giving them at the same price maybe, or a little extra price, because come on, you need to think the fact that you're not waiting in a supermarket line, the time that is saved. We need to think into aspect that we're not going to spend on petrol. So take into aspect that you're saving that. So why not give the farmer 10 rupees extra and tell him, yes, I thank you that you're giving me something from so close by. Now what happens is when we are encouraging more farmers get into the movement, more farmers want to grow. You are getting these things happening very locally. So one of the aspects gets covered there. The next thing would be collective farmers market. The next aspect that maybe we could shop local for. Then there are community markets that have gotten formed now. Like, there may be a holistically designed cafe that has these community markets that get done. So that's another space where, we can encourage farmers to go and sell their produce and people can, get a fair price for their things. Also, a lot of things that are happening now are the zero waste stores. That are coming about. So that's another place that one can get at the zero waste stores. And of course, when we see here early in the morning at a market, there will be these local vendors that come in and farmers that come in. So maybe it means missing out 1 hour of your sleep, going early in the morning to the market and just buying directly from there. Because see, they are just there for a few short period of time. They go back because they have to go back to the farm or go back to their house. They just come there for that period of time, sell. So again, we need to see how we are supporting the farmer and we are getting the produce locally. What happens is, when you are getting your things locally, the government saves on the extra. I mean, there's so much money that gets saved. They are spending less on the transportation costs. They're spending less on, the cost of the sabji that is coming inside, or the proteins that are coming inside, the grains that they are spending on. Fair price shops also, that much less, government is having to, pay from their pockets. When we develop a self-sustainable model, and I always believe about this sense of a self-sustainable model being there, we need to encourage these kind of things. See, together we can achieve more. I always believe that.
Of course. And I know you have kind of, kept the best of what you do at the end, because that's why I ask you one of our last questions. And, there's so much to talk there. And that's why I'm stopping myself here, because there's so much to say myself, but then I'm stopping myself here and asking you the last question, that you need to tell us about your work and how are you making people think local, how to bring that mindset of this is how we have to think local, and that's because of all the reasons we have discussed till now in this interview. So let's go ahead.
So my work at Plant Walks Goa, as I started it, just within a few days we complete 1 year. So this was something that started, of course, for a long period of time. I would tell my patients, go here, you'll get moringa leaves over here. Go there, you will get some other leaves that you can use for your skin, or that is healthy for you. And many of them, my husband too, they were like, why don't you start something where you create a platform for people to come and they can learn things that are available locally, and also they fit into the nutritional requirement. They come under the topic of health foods. They work as small potent doses of medicine. So that's how this foraging class took birth, which is under the Plant Works Goa. So this is what actually was the most interesting part, is we discovered quite lately, actually rediscovered, I should say, because for me, it was not a rediscovery. I grew up with this because my aunt would take me to the forest, my grand aunt, that's my grandmother's younger sister. She would take me to the forest. We would have these foraging trips, and I would always get intrigued with the leaf sizes, leaf shapes, how in this season only this thing is available, and then the next season something else is available. And and how does it work? And how does it help the body? So in the rainy season, we have something like Cassiotora, or the silver coxcomb that comes, that is only there for those 3 months. And again,
Yeah.
as I said earlier, the religious festivals like the Shravan month and the
Yeah.
Ganesh Chaturthi celebrate those vegetables,
Yeah.
celebrate those presence of those vegetables. And they say that compulsorily you should have it once. Many times people tend to forget that they were not having it. So what they did, they instituted something called as Gauri Puja. Now, Gauri Puja, if you forget to take it at least during the time of Shravan, at least in the name of Gauri Puja, you would go and have those 5 vegetables. Now, those vegetables need to be taken in just small amount of quantities.
Yeah.
Again, I have been creating an awareness, because what is happening is foraging has become a trend. Okay, it's the new trend now,
Yeah.
that everybody wants to be trendy. They want to set up cafes that have the foraged food. But we should also not forget, foraging is something that is done in little quantity,
Yes.
small quantity. And this is when I love the awareness that happens at Copenhagen, and the awareness that is happening in certain parts of indigenous America, where there are
Yeah.
still these indigenous pockets, and even raw green fields, where he mentions, that you forage just what you require
Yeah.
in the quantity that you require,
Yeah.
and keep a gap of about 15 days to a fortnight, so nature also gets time to regenerate itself
Regenerate. Yeah.
and recover.
Yeah.
Yes, these are the little things, conscious, mindful
Mindful.
ways of doing things. We need to be, I mean, mindfulness is just not a concept that we use for eating or for meditation. We need to take every aspect that we do and forage. So when
Yes.
I say forage again, we need what we need just for that much. I tell everyone, just take what you require.
Yeah.
Again, when you start eating from the forest, what you need to see is how much can your gut adjust to it. So
Yes.
maybe for starters, just take 5 leaves. Just take 6 leaves per person. See how your gut reacts to it. And then
Yes.
introduce these kind of foraged foods. I tell them in dals, because that's the easiest way to do it. The next best is soups, omelets if you're doing it for kids. Very
Yes.
nice way of introducing it to them. Or, dosa. So you
Yeah.
can take a cassetora and make a nice dosa out of it, or dosai, or using it in the adai, just a few leaves. So what is
Yes.
happening is your body is getting used to it, and you don't have an onslaught. Like, just to
Yes.
give an example, I met someone who came on the walk, and she said she had colocasia leaves, and the next day morning she had an excellently loose morning.
Yeah.
So it was not a very good morning, So she was very concerned, and she was like, "Oh no, no, I don't want to have this foraged food, because this is what happens." So I told her, start it in a very small way. And again, when you're using colocasia leaves, remember to take the skin of the stem off. Very important. And
Yeah.
I just suggest for some people to blanch it in salt water
Yeah.
with a little bit of tamarind, so if that oxalic acid goes out, and
Yeah.
then chop it fine, and then use it as a vegetable with some souring agent. So that itself cuts the oxalic acid, or the thing that makes it, itchy and different for our gut, that makes it cause an allergic reaction. So there are certain foraged foods that couple with certain things and that can be eaten. But also we need to remember, like, colocasia leaves all over India can be consumed at different times. But in Goa, our ancestors were very particular that once Chaturthi was over, you should not eat colocasia leaves.
Okay.
They were very particular. We had very particular instructions given. So then now would be the time for the yams and the sweet potato and
Yeah.
the nol kol, or the turnips, okay, the
Yeah.
kohlrabi and the radish that would come. The gourds would come in, pumpkins would come in during this time, different kinds of pumpkins. For,
Yeah.
so the festivals would incorporate this food. If you want to know about local food and foraged food, part of it which is more local, that has gone into widely acceptable foraged food as in available in a local market, like Goa's famous Mapsa's Friday market, I will say. You know, it's
Okay.
become famous. I don't know if it's got a GI tag as yet, but I think, you know, we should apply for a Mapsa market GI tag because it's so famous. And you
And you
get
know what?
locally produced food.
Yeah, and the more we speak, I always feel, I should be going to Goa. I should be, kind of coming there and being with you. And there's so much to kind of still understand. And we are looking at seasonal variations, the festivals which come with different seasons, and how it's all related with, all this culture is related with food. So we have a lot of traditions in there, and all we're doing is, kind of all of us are going back to the traditions. That is what eat local also means in a way, right? I mean, we have to go there and try to understand what's been lost. We need to conserve what we need to conserve for our future generation. And looking at this entire foraging also, I mean, for me, I'm not a doctor, I'm not someone who has a kind of agricultural background or something, but I've been always passionate about nature, and that's what brings me to all these different topics. And Earth itself is a product of that. And when I look at foraging, I remember, I mean, looking only at the cities I stayed in, right? I mean, starting from Delhi, jamuns grow so well in Delhi. I remember even in the beautiful bylanes of Delhi, jamun trees, and and all kinds of jamuns. It's not just that purple jamun; it's the other mulberries also, which grow very well there. And I remember all these little children, street children, trying to kind of go and get it, and they used to have little snacks of it. And
Exactly.
yeah, and I remember they used to have just what is required of them. So then entire equation between the privileged and the underprivileged gets settled with a lot of food, because there's also a lot of food security coming with something we are talking here.
Exactly.
And and also, I mean, lemons grow very well. Lady's finger grows well in Delhi, because I've done a bit of farming with my parents there. Coming to Mumbai, the entire harbour line, the local trains which goes through from Navi Mumbai side to Mumbai Victoria Terminal, we see a lot of fig trees. I've seen fig trees. I've seen children plucking figs directly from the trees. And I also recognized, a kind of a little fruit which looks like a cucumber, actually round cucumber, and it's called Shiblingi. And and then it's used in festivals also, I've heard, because the seed looks like a rudraksha, and also it's used in Ayurveda medicine. It's supposed to be used only in little quantities. It's just that I would have never known it. It's just that I'm passionate about it, so I stand at every point when I'm on a trek and I study these things, with the apps I have, and with, kind of Googling it right there and trying to see what happens. Coming to Bangalore, where I'm sitting right now, jackfruits. I mean, if you turn every road and lane, jackfruits grow so well here. And I think Chennai, of course, we have our banana trees and coconut trees and all that. So I think, urban foraging also becomes very important for some of us who have been very city bred. So even in that, I've been always trying to figure out what grows here. Like yesterday, I saw custard apple in my society over here in Bangalore. So yeah, so I mean, there's so much we can do as a community also, right? I mean, we always used to share so much, as food is one of the main kind of it's something which brings people together. So I mean, sharing of food, growing of food in a neighborhood, in a yard together, there's so much which can lead to shared foraging as well, right? So it's also community building, and that's how I think we are trying to cross this bridge. And yeah, you can add anything else you would like to add, in this whole concept of, the topic itself, eat local, wild edibles, and native life. Anything to add here?
So here, what you said is very true. Like, we actually have 6 types of jamuns. that Ayurveda talks about.
Yeah.
So there are jamuns here in Goa that are called as suneri. That means only the dogs eat it. But actually, that is what is actually good for diabetes. Very few people know that.
Okay.
They are
Okay.
much smaller size jamuns. They are not the
Okay.
bigger ones that you will get in the market. Then again, I have a berry walk where no one goes hungry because that happens in summer and you get
Okay.
all these wild berries in the forest. So we'll be picking up and eating. What do these berries do? When I say, why I say eat local, because there is a whole concept. Very few people know that when you eat local, eat seasonal, first, it builds up your immunity. Okay. Second, it helps your gut. So many people that are having celiac disease, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. These things help restore the pH, help restore these imbalances that happen. Then there is also lifestyle disorders.
Yeah.
These things help prevent because you're eating from that place. What is that place? And this concept was my teacher always told me, what you see growing around you is what you require at that time, and that is like a medicine for you. So these are the things that we should not forget. Again, there are the other fourth point that is there, that why to eat seasonal. So in the rains we will get cough, cold, fever. When we eat these berries in the summer, including the cashew nuts, the jackfruit, the mangoes, you will not suffer from seasonal fevers. So,
Yeah.
they had a reason why they told us to have this. And I'm told that in certain parts of Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, you get something called a wild jack, which is such a small little thing. And it has got small little jackfruit carpels inside. Yeah, quite a
Yeah.
small little thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are certain farms now that are putting it in brine and selling. I bought from
Wow.
one such farm in Karnataka these things.
Okay.
And it was so nice because he told me it is used in post-COVID recovery. And I was like, wow, fantastic. So see, before COVID came, nature
Hmm.
already provided you something that was there for recovery from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Very
if
much.
only we knew. So I say in our backyards, in the forest, in our streets, in our by-lanes, we have a pharmacy, we have a pantry. We just need to open our eyes, look
Yes.
around, create this mindset where, we are not in our boxes and our matchboxes, but we need to just go out, put those phones down, put on our walking shoes and just walk out.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, it's so amazing. You go for a health walk. I mean, what
Yes.
more do you need? I mean, the of holistic health walk, where you go and you walk, you eat, and you understand. You get that entire holistic lifestyle over there. And so, I mean, there's a beautiful memory which just is jumping up my mind. Hearing and talking about all this thing, and I just want to share this with the audience and
Yes.
you is that when I was young and when we went to school, just outside the school gates, just as our school ended, there used to be this Dadima who used to sit with this little crater, wooden crater. And she used to sell a lot of things, okay? And it used to be, I think it was a power packed crater because it used to have all the berries, seasonal berries, whenever, they are there.
Yes.
There used to be this, it used to be called chuski for the digestive kind of health. There was this churran which used to be there, which used to sell. There used to be peanuts, ground nuts, all kinds of nuts which used to be there. And I was a
Yes.
big fan of that creator. I never knew what it is. I was just happy. I was, I always loved eating and trying different kinds of food, and always loved what she used to have. And I used to kind of buy it 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5 rupee. It was nothing like, I just used to love different tastes. And I remember some of my friends going and complaining to the teacher that wahan se leke khati hai, she eats from there and all that. But after all these years, today this memory is just jumping out of me that Dadima was
Exactly.
really, she was like a forager, and she was actually sitting there trying to give us food which we didn't understand that it's very good for our health, and seasonal food, good food, natively available, what is there. So I'm like thanking Dadima right now. So I'm sure, like, I don't know if she's still there or not, but it's such a beautiful memory right now. I can still remember. It's like a picture coming in front of my eyes. So yeah, thank you so much, Maryanne. It was such a fantastic opportunity to have had you on our platform, and there's so much more to understanding what you do, and I think I should come to Goa, to interview, face to face, go on a walk with you,
Come.
try to see how to
You're most welcome. You're most welcome,
yeah.
Kapitra.
but thank
So
you
I'm
so much.
starting these kind of internship programs
Yeah,
from January. So
yeah,
let's see how things go.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
we can have someone, they come and they learn,
Yes,
and then
of
you can go
course.
back and you can.
Yes, of course. I mean, this so much to kind of take away from this interview itself. I am sure if it's face to face, if it's physical, there's so much more, and we can pull in, try to invite someone else, and try to do this. Thank you
Correct.
so much for this time. It has been lovely talking to you. I think we will keep talking. There's so much more to kind of just go on, because I think food and health and environment and everything is so common between us. So I'll surely come back to you. There would surely be another episode with Maryanne on this platform, but then as of now, thank you so much for hearing us out. I'm sure you're delighted, happy, in very curious to how all these things are possible. But I think the last line would be that you have to stay curious. You have to make the attempt. It's the it's the individual attempt which Maryanne is taking, and the community transition needs to happen through you, all of you watching this, and with us together. There's an ecosystem impact. So that's from me. That's from us. Thank you so much for hearing us out. Thank you, Maryanne. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Kapitra. Thank you so much.
See you.
Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.